Yeah, she's taking care of our daughter out in Alaska. They're talking about the earthquake. So she's waiting for another one, aftershock to come. So, hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we're going to continue our study on paper 44, Celestial Artisans, and we're on section 3, which is page 501 in the original book, or 44.3.1. The third section, the Divine Builders. And we're going to start off from there and keep going from that point. I'll say a quick prayer. Oh, before I do, I mentioned this before, but we didn't get it on video. This is the Fellowship Herald that comes out, I think, once a year. And it comes from the Urantia Book Fellowship. And on page 33 of this, Dr. William Sadler, the original William Sadler, wrote an article about the 64 original Urantia Book concepts. And it's a very good article. He mentioned 64 things unique about the Urantia Book, which is kind of neat. So I wanted to mention that. You can get a copy of that from the fellowship.
I thought you were going to talk about the article on how to lead a group.
No. No, I read that too.
you do it very well, Roger.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. Let me say a quick prayer and we'll start. Father, we want to thank you for bringing us together again tonight, and pray that you'll watch over this group and bless us tonight. Help us get through this material tonight that we might learn and share it with others. We thank you and we give you the praise in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Tim, would you like to take paragraph 1? See if we can do this.
There are cities whose builders and maker is God. In spirit counterpart, we have all that you mortals are familiar with inexpressibly more. We have homes, spirit comforts, and Mirantia's necessities. For every material satisfaction which humans are capable of enjoying, we have thousands of spiritual realities that serve to enrich and enlarge our existence. The Divine Builders function in 7 groups.
Okay, before we go on to the 7 groups, what it's mentioning here is for every comfort we have as human beings, there's a Mirantia and spirit counterpart of that. So for everything that we do, or everything we have and we think is important in this world, there's 1,000 other things, the spirit Mirantia counterpart that exists once we leave this world, which is kind of interesting. Well, I guess
hey Roger, I had a question for you.
Sure.
Where it says, whose builders and maker is God, are they referring to as the builders as God? Can you explain that a little more?
Yeah, they're talking about the celestial beings, the celestial artisans. They are not actually God themselves, but they're the representation of the concept of gods so that they can make them come into fruition, basically.
So they could be the hand of God.
They could be, in essence, the hand of God. That's right. You know, when we say we're inspired by God, really that's what these celestial artisans are. Is they're inspired by celestial beings or spirits or God himself. So, which makes it very interesting, doesn't it?
Okay, thank you.
All the work of God is delegated.
That's right. All the work of God is always delegated. That's right. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. And there is a word in here that's different than on my CD.
Okay.
The home designers and builders, number 1. Those who construct and remodel the abodes or homes. My CD says homes, my book says abodes.
Really?
Assigned to individuals and working groups. These Mirantia and spirit domiciles are real. They would be invisible to your short-range vision, but they're very real and beautiful to us. To a certain extent, all spirit beings may share with the builders certain details of the planning and creation of their Mirantia or spirit abodes. These homes are fitted up and embellished in accordance with the needs of the Mirantia or of the spirit creatures who are to inhabit them. There is abundant variety and ample opportunity for individual expression in all these constructions.
So we'll get to have some input on as to the homes or the domiciles that we will live in when we get there, right? Which is nice. It's always nice to be able to tell them what you want. Just like my backyard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Roger, I had a comment.
Yeah.
Comment though, where it says they would be invisible to your short-range vision.
Right.
You see, what I get out of that is that the frequency that we see is short range.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different frequency,
That's
so
right.
we can't see.
That's right.
We can only see that which we have already experienced.
That's right. We can only see that which we've already experienced, and our human vision is very short. So we know that the Morancha and spiritual material existence vibrates on a different frequency. So that means on this planet there's probably Morancha structures that we don't even know exist here, right?
Well, surely there must be. Yes.
Yeah, because there's Morancha beings on this planet, right? And the midways, they need somewhere to live.
We're
Right.
talking about different dimensions, actually.
Different dimensions, that's right, Val. That, let's see, Rodney, would you take the next number 2?
Yeah, and would it be possible for a Morancha structure to be built exactly where my mother's house is here?
Right on top of it, that's right.
You know what I mean?
They could both occupy the same exact space, that's correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever Merritt Horn was reading from, there's a word that's been changed there, because he read homes, and my book says abodes.
Well, he may have transposed it in his mind also, Melly. You know?
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Because it does mean the same thing.
It means the same thing,
It's-
that's right.
Okay, number 2, the vocation builders. Those who function in designing and assembling these abodes of the regular and routine workers of the spirit Morancha realms. These builders are comparable to those who construct the Urantia workshops and other industrial plants. The transition worlds have a necessary economy of mutual ministry and spiritualized division of labor.
Specialized division.
Thank you. Specialized. Why did I see spirit? We do not all do, just like the boat and home.
That's right.
We do not all do everything. There is diversity of function among Morancha beings and evolving spirits. And these vocation builders not only build better workshops, but also contribute to the vocational enhancement of the worker.
Okay, so we know that you have a Morancha career, right, when you leave here, and we all will have jobs of different sorts, you know, when we get there. So that you have to have a place to live, a place to work in while you're doing these jobs. So this is part of what they're talking about, the vocation builders. They build structures where we can do these assignments or do these jobs or experimentations or whatever we're working on while we're there, right? And that enhances our vocation and our work while we're there. All right. Val, would you take the next one, the play builders?
Play builders, enormous edifices are utilized during the sessions of reset. What morals for recreation and in a certain sense play. Provision is made for a suitable setting for the reversion directors.
Right.
The humorists of the frontier world. Those transition spheres they place the training of ascendant beings, but recently removed from the evolutionary planets. Even the higher spirit engage in certain form of reminiscent humor during their period of spiritual recharging.
So the reversion directors are in charge of our humor or our play. So we all need time to relax and things like that. So there's a special time set aside for us to be entertained, and these reversion directors, or the humorists of the Morancha worlds, are in charge of doing just that. And much of it is related to reminiscing about our period of being a mortal or a Morancha being. So
being a beast.
Being a beast, as
I
they
tell
say.
you, when we're going to leave here, we're going to need some recreation, don't you think?
That's right, we will. Okay.
Well, we can go fishing.
Yeah, really. For the worship builders. Well, Rodney, they say there's all kinds of lakes on all these planets, so there must be fish in them, right?
There must be, right?
That's right, that's right. The worship builders, the experienced architects of the spirit of the Morancha temples, are all of the worlds of mortal ascent have temples of worship, and they are most exquisite creations of the Morancha realms and the spirit spheres. So they actually have a special builder just to do the worship centers once we get going. Yeah.
I had a question.
Yeah.
How do the revelators define worship? Could you explain that to me?
Yeah, worship to the according to the revelators are one thing and one thing only, and that's communication with the Universal Father. Okay, so worship, all worship goes to the Father. It can go through the sons, through the divinity hierarchy, but actually all worship is immediately keyed to God the Father. So when you worship, whether you're worshiping the Son of God or the Creator Son or whatever, that worship is relayed immediately to God the Father. And the way that's done is through the thought adjuster.
We've been through this before, because I had a real problem with that when I first started reading the book. I went around asking everybody, what is worship? Because all the churches have signs out front, come worship with us. You go and it's a party.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's what I would consider worship. And I think one of the things we decided was doing God's will.
Yes, it is doing God's will.
Now, what you say, the thought adjuster is the middleman.
Yeah, well, the thought adjuster is that fragment of God, Val. So it's not really a middleman, but it's the relay directly to God the Father. Okay? So really, when you worship, it doesn't go through the regular circuits. It goes through the thought adjuster directly to God the Father. It's the only thing we do that does that. You know, and going back to what Billy said about our terms of worship, we have kind of a skewed idea of what worship really is. We call singing and dancing and getting together and socializing and things like that worship. And in reality, that is not what they're talking about in the Urantia book when you talk about worship. Worship is that communication between your inner soul or yourself with your thought adjuster straight with the Father. And worship is only received by the Father. Worship is not received by any other being in the whole entire universe.
So hey Roger, it has nothing to do with lifting up your hands, and if worship is communication, then can you tell me the difference between worship and prayer, which is a form of communication?
Well, yeah, prayer, the difference between worship and prayer is this. Worship is for the sake of edifying God the Father. When you ask for anything for yourself, it's a selfish thing. So as soon as you ask for anything, it turns into prayer. Okay? So anything that's self-centered, or if you're asking for something for even someone else, like a fellow human being or anything, when you ask for a favor from God or for anything from God, that turns it into prayer. It goes from worship to prayer when you make any request. If you're worshiping, it is for the sake of worship itself, to edify God the Father. That's the difference. Does that make sense, Tim?
Okay, thank you.
Roger, what people do when they pray to Jesus?
That is prayer. That is prayer.
If they worship
If they worship Jesus, it automatically is relayed to God the Father. Even if you worship Jesus, the same thing happens. It automatically goes through God to God the Father, and it does that.
All these things are good.
Pardon me?
All these things are positive.
All these things are what? Val, I didn't catch that. Positive?
Yeah, they're a good thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's positive.
So worship is communication and prayer is asking.
That's exactly right. Worship is communicating with God the Father, and prayer is request or asking for things. Okay? That's the difference. And you can pray for many, many different things and not have selfish prayer. But the moment, it says in the book, the moment your worship goes from edification of God the Father or admiration for God the Father to asking for something, that immediately turns into prayer. And the difference is this. Worship is, in essence, international. How do I say this? Worship involves the entire universe. Prayer involves the local universe. When you ask for something, anything you ask for is handled by the local universe and the local universe administration under your Creator Son. So the minute you ask for something, it kicks over to the local universe. But when you're worshiping, it automatically goes straight to God the Father. So you're talking about the master universe then, right? So,
Is anywhere mention some tools what we can use to find out if Father listens to us or not?
no, not really. It talks about communication. The best thing we can do is learn how to communicate with our thought adjuster and try to do the will of God. By doing the will of God, that's when you're really communicating with God.
When you do the will of God.
When you do the will of
But
God.
you really don't know if you doing the will of God because there's no feedback.
Well, Val, the more you concentrate on trying to do the will of God, as we get better and better at it, according to the Urantia book, we can eventually hear the voice of God. And that usually happens right before we fuse with a thought adjuster. Okay? And there are people
that there's a variety of proof that we can get feedback.
Yeah.
By the people we encounter, by art, by music, by feelings, by consciousness.
Yeah,
there's a variety. You just have to be quiet and listen.
That's right. The tricky part
is... There's
is...
so much chatter today in the world that you don't take time to listen.
That's exactly right.
But it's so
That's why
much
they tell
noise.
you, when you pray, you want to kind of contemplate for a little bit and just be quiet.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much noise, you can hardly do it.
Yeah. We have an exercise online that I put out there. It's from the Worship and Wisdom seminar I went to a couple years ago. And there's an exercise for doing just that on our website. I think it's under a link. It's called Worship and Wisdom. So let's keep going. We're getting bogged down here. Okay, Tim, would you take number 5, the educational builders?
Number 5, the educational builders. Those who build the headquarters of the Morancha Training and Advanced Spirit Learning always is the way open to acquire more knowledge, to gain additional information respecting one's present and future work, as well as universal cultural knowledge information designed to make ascending mortals more intelligent and effective citizens of the Morancha and spiritual worlds.
So you can keep on learning all the way up your pathway to paradise, can't you? Which is a good thing. We all need it.
Before we move on, going back to worship,
Yes.
in paper 5, section 3, true worship.
Good paper. Very good paper.
Paper 5, section
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. Very
Anybody
good.
wants to go back and look at it?
Yeah. Billy, would you take number 6, please?
Yes. Morancha planners, number 6. Those who build for the coordinate association of all the personalities of all realms as they are at any one present time, or any one sphere. The planners collaborate with the Morancha Power Supervisors to enrich the coordination of the progressive Morancha life.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting because they mentioned the Morancha Power Supervisors. In order for them to build these things and plan these things out, they have to be in touch with the physical controllers and the Morancha Power Supervisors which is part of that hierarchy of the physical control of the universe. So it has a physical component to it, right?
Is it like energy organizers?
Energy manipulation, energy organization. That's right, Val. It is. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yes, the 7 public builders. The artisans who plan and construct the designated places of assembly other than those of worship. Great and magnificent are these places of common assembly. While neither these structures nor their embellishment would be exactly real to the sensory comprehension of material mortals, they are very real to us. You would be unable to see these temples could you be there in the flesh. Nevertheless, all of these supermaterial creations are actually there, and we clearly discern them and just as fully enjoy them.
So just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there, right, Rodney?
That's right.
All right. Let's keep going. The thought recorders. Val, would you take the first paragraph of the next one?
What is that?
The thought recorders?
Yeah. These artisans are devoted to the preservation and reproduction of the superior thought of the realm. And they function in the 7 groups.
All right, thought recorders. Isn't this interesting? There's a whole group of artists, celestial artisans, that take care of recording thought. All right, and we're going to go over them next. Okay.
Thought preservers. These are the artisans dedicated to preservation of the higher thoughts of the realm. On the Marantia worlds, they truly treasure the gems of mentation. What is that?
Mentation.
What is that?
Mentation. Oh.
It's mental activity.
Hi, Val.
No, that's exactly right.
Before I come to Marantia, I saw records and heard records of the
Ideation
of some of the great minds of this planet. Ideation is what? Like thoughts?
That's concepts, thoughts and concepts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought recorders preserve such noble ideas in the tongue of universa.
So even people on this planet have mental thoughts and concepts that they feel is worthy of being translated into the tongue of Uversa and preserved on high. Isn't that interesting?
And it makes you wonder why.
Well, I guess some of us have some pretty good thoughts. You know?
You know, it's amazing because when I hear the word tongues, you know what I think of? Is when the Master Son has quoted speaking in tongues, which usually refers to an Aramaic as you will speak foreign languages.
Yes, yes. It is. All right, in languages unknown to them, but other people could understand. It had a purpose, right, Tim? It had a specific
Well, the
purpose.
language is a cultural thing, so that means they preserve certain culture.
Yes, that's true too, Val.
It's like a museum deal, you know?
Yeah. You want to take the next one, dude? Yeah.
Each super universe has its own language, a tongue spoken by its personalities and prevailing throughout its sectors. This is known as the tongue of Uversa in our super universe. Each local universe also has its own language. All of the higher orders of Nebadon are bilingual, speaking both the language of Nebadon and the tongue of Uversa. When two individuals from different local universes meet, they communicate in the tongue of Uversa. If, however, one of them hails from another super universe, they must have recourse to a translator. In the central universe, there is little need of a language. There exists perfect and well-nigh complete understanding. There only the gods are not fully comprehended. We are taught that a chance meeting on Paradise reveals more of mutual understanding than could be communicated by a mortal language in 1,000 years. Really. Even on Salvington, we know as we are known. We know as we are known.
So as we think, we know, right? Okay, this is really interesting. Think about this, y'all. I want to slow it down for just 1 second here. We have the language of the local universe. There's 700,000 local universes, right? So there's 700,000 different tongues. So when you communicate with someone from another local universe, you do it through the super universe language, which is the language of Uversa, right? Okay. Once we get past our super universe, our local super universe of Vervanten, and we go on to Havona, then's when we start to communicate what? On the paradise level, right? And then we are known as we know as we are known. Now the reason being, there's 7 super universes, right? So they have 7 different languages. So if you have a chance meeting of the 7 super universes before you get to paradise, then you need a translator, okay? Also, let's step back one. When you're in the local universe, on the local universe headquarters of Salvington, right? And you're standing on the sea of glass, and we have visitors from other local universes, right? If you cannot communicate with them in the language of Uversa, the super universe, if they're from another super universe, how do you communicate? Then you use the harp of God. That's right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, how exactly does that harp of God work?
I guess it's like an iPad or an iPhone. You just...
Yeah, that's what Bill came up with.
Huh?
That's what Bill came up with. And
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a translator basically from any language into the language that you understand, you know? Kind of like Star Trek. Remember Star Trek had a universal translator? That's a harp of God, right? Okay, so it makes...
Yeah, but they say, Roger, they say when you go up and up and up, you become telepathic. You're not going to communicate with the language.
That's right.
From mind to mind.
That's right. When you get to paradise, you will communicate through the thought and concept rather than language.
Right. So you exchange the concepts from one brain to another brain. So
that's right. Telepathically.
Telepathically.
That's
so
right.
It must be that the concept must be not in the language. It must be in some kind of geography or something.
Well, we're going to go. We're
mathematics or something like that.
This next paragraph talks about this different symbols and stuff. Okay, let's keep going.
you know, Roger, I wish we could get a jump on the Uversa tongue, you know, while we were here on Earth.
That would be nice, wouldn't it, if you could start studying it here, you know. Of course, if they did.
I need a translator just to go to Alabama.
Of course, if they taught us Uversa language here on this planet, then the Urantia book would probably be written in Uversa language rather than English.
Yeah, just think, Roger, they'd all call us demonic.
That's true. They're
gonna call you all.
That's right. We'd all be possessed, right? All right, let's keep going. The ability to translate thought into language in the Morantian spirit spheres is beyond mortal comprehension. Our rate of reducing thought to a permanent record can be so speeded up by the expert recorders that the equivalent of over 500,000 words or thought symbols can be registered in 1 minute of Urantia time. That's a lot. These universe languages are far more replete than the speech of the evolving worlds. The concept symbols of Uversa embrace more than 1 billion characters. Although the basic alphabet contains only 70 symbols. The language of Nebanon is not quite so elaborate, the basic symbols or alphabet being 48 in number. Isn't that?
Oh, interesting. You know, the Japanese language has always intrigued me, you know, with all the symbols and everything. And China too.
Oh, Chinese, yeah.
Chinese, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think of Chinese a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are over 2,000 symbols. in
Something
the
like that,
Chinese
yeah.
language, something like
So
that.
hey Roger, when they say 1,000,000,000 characters, is it kind of like the Chinese writing, where they have a character for every little word or symbol, like plant or cat or dog?
It might be, Tim. It may very well be that's the case, you know. And remember, it being 1,000,000,000 characters too could have something to do with the expansion of reality when we get past the human existence. When we hit the Morancha and the spirit existence, there's going to be things, there's 1,000 things more than there are in our world, right? So you multiply that as you go up, it gets more and more and more. So the 1,000,000,000 characters may have something to do with the variation of all the things that's coming to us when we start in the Mansion worlds, you know. So there's really nothing to compare it to in the human language, and we found that out with them trying to explain to us what these beings actually do, right? So,
Well, in Chinese, they can have one word, and the inflex that you use, whether you say it up or down or straight across or elongated, it can mean 4 or 5 different things. The same word.
yeah.
We have words that sound alike, like the color red, and I read a book,
Yeah.
but those are different words.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all I can say is this. I think it was a week before last, I checked my stats, and we had 390 downloads into the Chinese language of our last week's video. Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I hope we're not embarrassing the American language by what we do. You know, it's hard to be a representation for America when you have people from all over the world listening to us, and so their understanding is different than our understanding, and the way their values are a little bit different. So I hope we do a
Their
well
values-
enough
Their
job.
values are not that much different. I was there.
Yeah.
I was there 2 weeks and another time 2 weeks, and they're very kind and loving people.
They
Yeah,
are.
no, I'm talking more about their conceptual reality of their language and that sort of thing. You know, we might seem a little barbaric to them in the fact that they can.
Or we might be.
Yeah, we may be.
Not all of us.
Yeah. Okay.
They consider us barbaric. We still butcher at the table.
That's
They just use chopsticks.
that's right.
They don't butcher at the dining table.
That's right.
That's a very good point.
Good point. Okay, Tim, I think you're up next.
2. Concept recorders. The second group of recorders are concerned with the preservation of concept pictures' ideal patterns. This is a form of permanent recording unknown on the material realms, and by this method, I could gain more knowledge in 1 hour of your time than you could gain in 100 years of presuming ordinary written language.
Now that's speeding things up. You know?
It's interesting. I heard someone say at a workshop I went to a few weeks ago about children that are, is it ADD?
ADHD.
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 And he was saying that a lot of these children probably are just very advanced, and they should not be medicated because they're probably some of the accelerated learning patterns that we'll be learning later on down the road.
Maybe.
So, just I never heard that before. It was interesting.
Billy, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. Ideograph recorders. We have the equivalent of both your written and spoken word, but in preserving thought, we usually employ concept picturization and ideographic technique.
Who's that say is down there?
Those who preserve ideographs are able to improve 1,000-fold upon the work of the concept recorders. I guess you call symbols.
That's the concept I get from this. It's a combination of symbols and language, both.
Like the recorders in a court. They don't type out the words. They type a symbol that means the word.
That's right. The whole concept.
Or
Right.
phrases. There
Yeah.
are symbols that even mean a whole phrase.
That's right.
Shorthand writing.
Shorthand writing, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking too.
Rodney, would you take the next one?
Yeah, sure. Number 4, promoters of oratory. This group of recorders are occupied with the task of preserving thought for reproduction of oratory. But in the language of Nebadon, we could, in a half-hour's address, cover the subject matter of the entire lifetime of a Urantia mortal. The only hope of comprehending these transactions is to pause and consider the technique of your disordered and garbled dream life. How you can, in a few seconds, traverse years of experience in these fantasies of the night season.
Okay, so y'all think about this. The promoters of oratory are able to reproduce in a half an hour basically all the content of your entire life. So when we get to the mansion worlds, we can probably review our entire life in about 30 minutes.
When I had a motorcycle accident, when I was thrown off the motorcycle, I felt that exact way, that I saw my whole life in front of me in just a second.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where all these records go? I mean, is it like our government, that one big computer,
Well,
all records in it?
well,
Like Snowden kind of deal?
Val, there's actually a location
Good thought, Val. Good thought.
on each of the planets, of the hierarchy of the planets, for where all records are kept. There's not only, it's kind of like the review of your life, really. There's not only a physical record kept, there's a mental record kept and a spiritual record kept in the by your guardian angels and your thought adjuster. So there's multiple records of everything that's ever happened through the universe since the beginning of time, even on Paradise.
Hey Roger, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
When you say guardian angels, are you talking about the guardian seraphim?
Yes. Yes, I am.
And I just have one more question. I was watching Highway to Heaven series. If an angel were to come down here, what would it be? Would it be a seraphim that helps out humans?
Yeah, it would be a seraphim if it was
Are kept by cherubims.
What was that, Val?
Cherubims are the ones.
Cherubims
Cherubims.
and Cenobims.
Cherubims and
Records, yeah.
yeah, cherubims and cenobims help with the record, but it's actually one of the two seraphim that are responsible for the records.
But it's only two, and that would be just a seraphim
That would be a seraphim.
to
Yeah.
come down and help humans. Okay, thank you.
That would
Roger.
be the one that would come down and help humans. Now, it's interesting that you say that, Tim, because the seraphim themselves more than likely would not make themselves ever visible to a human. Who would they actually use to do that? Midware, right? Because midwares are closer to human beings. So if they wanted to relay a message to a human, they would probably, if the seraphim wanted to do that, he'd have to get an okay for that to happen first up the seraphim hierarchy. But then he would use a midware and a mechanical controller to actually make themselves visible.
So all these stories that you see on TV or you hear about how suddenly somebody appeared may or may not be an angel, but if it were an angel, it would be a midware.
Yeah, it would probably be a midware, more than likely. Very rarely have angels made themselves visible. There are accounts where they have, and they are really very well. Like an example of that was what? When the angel appeared before Mary, right? That was Gabriel. Now he can do anything he wants. He can make himself visible anytime he wants. But he's the highest order of angel, right? So,
And there's one more. When usually people are on their deathbed, they report seeing angels.
yeah, that's right. They do. That's pretty common. Is when people are just at the crest of passing through or dying, that they see one or both of their guardian angels. You know, that's what.
Roger,
Yeah.
what, you aware of Akashic records? What is those?
The what?
It's Akashic Records. Akashic Records is where all of your living experiences are kept supposedly here on this earth. I mean,
Yeah.
spiritual.
So is it like what where the seraphim gonna put it?
No, it's not, Val. That's not the same thing. The records of your life are actually kept in the being of the seraphim himself, in his consciousness.
And the copy is Akashic records.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you say that?
Well, I can't say that for sure because it doesn't say that for sure in the Urantia book.
The Akashic records are more of an Eastern type of term, Val.
Yeah.
Usually what it refers to is the memory of God, from what I've learned from it, where it's based on every person's individual life and memory, everything. It's like a library written record of every single thing. If you research the Eastern religions, it's probably going to be different since everybody does have a different interpretation, but that's my take on it. It's
It's gotta be because
It's part of the
I
day.
know people who are looking at those.
Yeah, I can't really comment on that, Val.
Well, the papers don't validate that,
Yeah.
Val, but what you could use as a reference similar to that, you can say that we are the living newspapers of God, that we are experiencing.
Yeah, because if you think about it, each one of us has a thought adjuster, a fragment of God. So in concert, we have a fragment of the entire consciousness of God within everyone. You know, I know that's a hard concept to even go to. Let's keep going. We're getting off track here again. All right, who's up? I don't know.
I think
Val's up.
No, Millie. Did Millie?
No,
The oratory of the
I
Spirit.
just read.
You did?
Yeah, it's Val. Val, you're up.
It's Val.
Yeah.
The oratory of the spirit world is one of the rare treats which awaits you who have heard only the crude and stumbling variations of Urantia. There is a harmony of music and a euphony of expression in the orations of Salvington and Adentia, which are inspiring beyond description. These burning concepts are little gems of beauty in diadems of glory, but I cannot do it. I cannot convey to the human mind the breadth and depth of these realities of another world.
So this archangel's having trouble even relating to us the things that are to come. Okay, you know, he's frustrated because we don't have even human concepts to relate to these things that await us, right?
It must be awesome.
It must be awesome for sure. Okay, here, would you take the next one?
5. The broadcast directors. The broadcasts of paradise, the super universes, and the local universes are under the general supervision of this group of thought conservers.
Yeah.
They serve as censors and editors as well as coordinators of the broadcast material, making a super universe adaptation of all paradise broadcasts and adapting and translating the broadcasts of the Ancients of Days into the individual tongues of the local universes.
So the broadcast directors are all really like the super communicators, right? They take all this information that's coming from all over the universe in the Ancients of Days and try to put it into a tongue of the local universe, into a language that we can understand so that everyone knows what's going on all the time. So you see why the universal broadcasts are so important, right? That we've been cut off from since the Lucifer rebellion, right? So we haven't received these broadcasts since the time of the Lucifer rebellion, which really puts us at a disadvantage, because if we saw these broadcasts, you know, when they came through, we would have a better understanding of where we stood in the universe, right? All right.
So that was, what, 200,000 years ago?
250,000 years, yeah. The local universe broadcast must also be modified for reception by the systems and the individual planets. The transmittal of the space reports are carefully supervised, and there is always a back registry to ensure the proper reception of every report on every world in a given circuit. These broadcast directors are technically expert in the utilization of the currents of space for all purposes of intelligence communications. So they're informed on all the different universal circuits. The Father's personality circuit, the Son's spirit circuit, the infinite spirit's mind circuit, and of course paradise physical circuit, right? The circuit of paradise. So
how they do it with all these languages?
Can you imagine?
I
can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Well, how do we do it, Val?
Yeah.
How do we do it?
Not too good. Not too good.
Spanish and German and English. How do we do it, Val?
We don't
And
do
you
it.
were older, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Tim, would you take the next one? Rhythm, you're right.
Number 6, the rhythm recorders. Eurasians would undoubtedly denominate these artisans poets, although their work is very different from and almost infinitely transcends your poetic productions. Rhythm is less exhausting to be both Morancha and spirit beings, and so an effort is frequently made to increase efficiency, as well as to augment pleasure by executing numerous functions in rhythmic form. I only wish you might be privileged to hear some of the poetic broadcast of the Adentia assemblies, and to enjoy the richness of the color and tone of the constellation geniuses who are masters of this exquisite form of self-expression and social harmonization.
So they not only communicate it, they do it in a rhythmic form, right? To make it enjoyable for everyone that listens to it, you know? These are the experts of rap, right? If you think about it.
I don't think that's rhythm.
I don't think that's rhythm either, but that's what I'm talking about, you know. They do it in a rhythmic format so to make it sound like poetry, and these are important communications that's coming from the headquarters, right? So we really have some treats in store for us ahead. Okay. Millie, would you take the next one, the Morancha recorders?
Yes. The Morancha recorders, number 7. I am at a loss to know how to depict to the material mind the function of this important group of thought recorders assigned to the work of preserving the ensemble pictures of the various groupings of Morancha affairs and spirit transactions. Crudely illustrated, they are the group photographers of the transition worlds. They save for the future the vital scenes and associations of these progressive epochs, preserving them in the archives of the Morancha Halls of Records.
So everything of importance, there's illustrations of, right? The only thing he can compare it to is photographs. All right. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Okay, number 5, the energy manipulators. These interesting and effective artisans are concerned with every kind of energy, physical, mental, and spiritual.
All right.
Go on. Roger?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Number 1, physical energy manipulators. These physical energy manipulators serve for long periods with the power directors and are experts in the manipulation and control of many phases of physical energy. They are conversant with the 3 basic currents and the 30 subsidiary energy segregations of the super-universes. These beings are of inestimable assistance to the Morancha power supervisors of the transition worlds. They are the persistent students of the cosmic projections of paradise.
Now you see how everything interrelates here? We're talking about physical energy. These are beings that manipulate physical energy. And they have to work with the power directors, right, and the Morancha power supervisors, right? So they manipulate physical energy, mind, and matter, okay? And to do that, they have to work with the power directors who take care of the energy for that physical mind and matter, right?
Hey, Roger, when you say physical, could you say to planets, or material, or spiritual?
We're talking about material all the way down to the ultimaton, Tim. They actually manipulate.
I understand this. I understand the God puts out the raw energy, and that energy has to be modified to do things. And these guys take that energy and do manipulate that energy different ways so they can have a result.
That's exactly right, Val. That's exactly.
Okay, thank you, Val.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you want me to read?
Yeah, your turn, Val. Go ahead and read.
Non-energy manipulators. These are the experts of intercommunication between Morancha and other types of intelligent beings. This form of communication between mortals is particularly non-existent on Urantia. These are the specialists who promote the ability of the ascending Morancha beings to communicate with one another, and their work embraces numerous unique adventures in intellect, liaison, which are far beyond my power to portray to the material mind. These occasions are taken, keen students are the keen students of the mind circuit of the infinite spirit.
So these are mind energy manipulators. They basically take the energy of mind and work with it so that the Morancha beings can communicate to one another. Because when we become Morancha beings, there's a whole variety of beings that we're going to interact with that come from other planets, other types of beings, other social groups, that sort of thing. And this is the energy, mind energy, or the energy thought patterns that they manipulate. Okay?
I had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
When they say the word ascending Morancha beings, just like you just got done talking, it could be other beings from other planets, including us, right? So everybody that's on that ascension plan toward paradise?
That's right, Tim. Everybody that's ascending. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Many different types of beings, right? All right. Here, would you take the
3 spiritual energy manipulators. The manipulators of spiritual energy are an intriguing group. Spiritual energy acts in accordance with established laws, just as does physical energy. That is, spirit force, when studied, yields dependable deductions and can be precisely dealt with, even as can the physical energies. There are just as certain and reliable laws in the spirit world as obtained in the material realms. During the last few millions of years, many improved techniques for the intake of spiritual energy have been effected by these students of the fundamental laws of the eternal sun, governing spirit energy as applied to the Morancha and other orders of celestial beings throughout the universes.
Okay, so this is a group of beings that manipulate spirit energy, which is different than Morancha energy. Okay? So we have to remember that when we reach the first level of the spirit existence, we pass into a totally different existence, right? When we go from a Morancha to our spirit existence, it's totally different. The physical energy is different. The spirit energy is different. The mindal energy is different. Everything is different when we pass into that. Just like when we go from human to Morancha, right? It's a total transformation to a whole new existence once again. And then we go through the 6 levels of spirit existence, waiting on the future 7th level, right? All right.
I I find that last sentence is very long, but I find it interesting that they are still improving techniques for the intake of spiritual energy. It's not like everything's already organized and standardized.
No, it's like nothing is static, is it, Billy?
You get better and better.
You get better and better. It continues to expand indefinitely.
So, hey, Roger, the word spiritual energy would just really translate to that different form of being. And you're dealing with energy.
It's really a different form of existence, isn't it, Tim, when you think about it?
There is no other energy than spiritual energy through the universe. We just call it different. But it's just, everything comes from spirit.
Well, everything comes through spirit, not from spirit. It actually comes from God the Father. But everything, it does come through spirit because of the eternal Son, if you think about it. The eternal
Einstein said it that basically everything we see, we touch, we talk, we sing, it's basically spiritual energy.
Not exactly, no. I'd have to disagree with you on that one.
It's energy.
It's energy,
It's energy.
but it's a modified type of, we have the Morancha energy, then you have the physical energy. Right, I
look at it this way. If there was no spiritual energy, there would be no other energy.
This is true. That's true, Val. Because it all comes through the spiritual energy.
It's like people have a confusion if there is a creation or if there is evolution. I say it's both. You gotta have something created for something to evolve.
That's right, you do.
But I had a question, Roger.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the difference between the word spirit and spiritual? Because when you say spirit, I think of thought adjusters, and then when you say spiritual, I think of like God.
Yeah, well, that's really pretty close to it, because spirit itself is a existence. If you think about it, Tim, the spirit reality is a total existence in itself. Okay.
I believe spiritual is non-physical.
And spiritual is the concept of the spirit. Yeah, if you think about it, spirit is a reality, and spiritual is a concept of that reality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Next paragraph.
Next paragraph. All right.
It says,
yeah, who's up next?
Universal is physical, mindal, and spiritual energies.
Right.
How often does that happen to us? You
Yeah.
ask a question and the next paragraph answers your question.
Okay, here we go. Let's go. Who's up?
You.
Oh, me? Okay. The compound manipulators. This is the adventurous group of well-trained beings who are dedicated to the function of association of the three original phases of divine energy manifested throughout the universe as physical, mindal, and spiritual energies. Three separate things, right? These are the keen personalities who are in reality seeking to discover the universe presence of God, the Supreme. For in this deity personality there must occur the experiential unification of all grand universe divinity. And to a certain extent, these artisans have in recent times met with some success. What are they talking about here? They are talking about the combination of the physical, the mindal, and the spiritual energy into the experience of God the Supreme. Okay? The experiential deity, and God the Supreme, when it comes into full fruition, will be in charge of all three aspects of this energy or reality. Right?
Well, they try to sort it out because the creation is going on. That means all these realms, all these realities are evolving. And these people try to keep up with it.
Yeah, they're busy.
They're busy. Because they had to, it didn't exist yesterday, exists today. What are we going to call it? How are we going to arrange it? How are we going to present it to the universe?
Hey, Roger, would you say the word divine is just like divinity? Divinity meaning the characteristic unifying quality of deity. So Are those two words exactly alike, divine and divinity?
No, not exactly, Tim, because divine, man, I don't even want to get into that. We'll be a 2-hour discussion.
So is divine kind of like the universal Father, it's energy or presence?
Yeah,
or...
divine really is the essence of the universal Father.
Okay, there we go.
Divinity is the downstepping of that essence, really. You know, if you think about it.
Okay, well said.
is that
Divine is something you cannot alter it.
Yeah.
From our level, you cannot even mess with it.
Tim, I think you're up next.
Okay, 5, the transport advisors. This corps of technical advisors to the transport seraphim are most proficient in collaborating with the STAR students in working out routines and otherwise assisting the chiefs of transport on the worlds of space. They are the traffic supervisors of the spheres and are present on all inhabited planets. Urantia is served by a corps of 70 transport advisors.
So we have these beings assigned to our planet, and they take care of all transport to and from this planet of all celestial beings, right?
Like air traffic controllers.
Like air traffic controllers, you got it. All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. I have some thoughts on divine and divinity. I use the word divine as an adjective. That's a divine dish. That's a divine picture. That's a divine. It's an adjective, but to me, divinity is a noun.
Yep.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's something to think about.
Yeah.
Where are we? The experts of communication, number 6. Urantia, likewise, is served by 12 technicians of interplanetary and inter-universe communication. These long-experienced beings are expert in the knowledge of the laws of transmittal and interference as applied to the communications of the realms. This corps is concerned with all forms of space messages except those of gravity and solitary messengers. On Urantia, much of their work must be accomplished over the Archangel Circuit.
And why is that? That's because we're still in quarantine, right?
Oh, right.
That's
That
why.
was questionable.
Yeah. That's why it's done over the Archangel Circuit. That's the only way they can communicate, because we're still in quarantine. All
Yeah,
right?
because we're jumping over we are in the jail, remember?
Yeah. Jail. Rodney, would you take the next one?
So we got different setup on communication.
Yeah. Rodney, would you take the next
Thanks to Lucifer, right?
one? Yeah. Thanks to Lucifer.
Hey, number 7. The teachers of rest. Divine rest is associated with the technique of spiritual energy intake. The life and spirit energy must be replenished just as certainly as physical energy, but not for the same reasons. I am, perforce, compelled to employ crude illustrations in my attempts to enlighten you. Nevertheless, we are of the spirit world, must stop. We of the spirit world must stop our regular activities periodically and betake ourselves of suitable places of rendezvous where we can enter the divine rest and thus recuperate our depleting energies.
So they have to stop and recuperate or take in spiritual energy, right? What was that?
Spirit beings also become replenished.
Also become what, Rodney? I didn't catch that.
They need to rest as well.
That's right. They need to rest as well. It kind of reminds me of, I was trying to think of the movie. I think it was City of Angels, where the angel go out to the beach in the morning and watch the sun come up, and they all worship God and take in spiritual energy with the sun. You know, that's what it kind of reminds me of. Who was that guy that played it? I can't think.
Oh, wow.
He was an angel that fell or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
You
Val.
will receive your first lessons in those matters when you reach the mentioned world. How to have become Morontia being and have begun to experience the technique of spirit affairs. You know the innermost circle of Aura, and that after the pilgrims of space have traversed the preceding circles, they must be inducted into the long and revived
Rest of paradise.
Revive.
Fine. Yeah.
This is not only a technical requirement of transit from the career time to the service of eternity, but it is also a necessity of form of rest required to replenish the energy losses incident to the final step of the accident experience and to store reserves of spirit power for the next stage of the endless career.
What's he talking about? He's talking about the long flight from Havona to paradise, right?
Yes.
And in order to do that, the superlative takes you. You go to sleep, and there's a reason you do that. You have to have that rest period between the flight from Havona until you get to paradise, so you're refreshed when you get on paradise.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some assimilation.
Yeah, that's going to be something to experience for sure. Okay, and the circles they're talking about are the 7 circles of Havona, right here.
Right.
Okay, sweetie, you can take the next one.
These energy manipulators also function in hundreds of other ways, too numerous to catalog, such as counseling with the seraphim, cherubim, and seraphim, regarding the most efficient modes of energy intake and as to the maintenance of the most helpful balances of divergent forces between active cherubim and passive seraphim. In many other ways do these experts lend assistance to Morontia and spirit creatures in their efforts to understand the divine rest, which is so essential to the effective utilization of the basic energies of space.
So they teach us how to rest properly, don't they? Okay. The designers and embellishers. How I wish I knew how to portray the exquisite work of these unique artisans. Every attempt on my part to explain the work of spirit embellishment would only recall to material minds your own pitiful but worthy effort to do these things on your world of mind and matter. Kind of pitiful, aren't we?
And they're insulting us.
I think they are. Tim, would you take the next one, please?
This Corps, while embracing over 1,000 subdivisions of activity, is grouped under the following 7 major heads. 1. The craft workers of color. These are they who make the 10,000 color tones of spirit reflection pearl. 4th, their exquisite messages of harmonious beauty. Aside from the color perception, there is nothing in human experience to which these activities may be compared.
Okay, so, you know, it always comes back to, you know, how pitiful our artwork is, right? You know, we're talking about 10,000 color tones, a spirit reflection, which is beyond our even concept. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. 2. The sound designers. Spirit waves of diverse identity and Morontia appreciation are depicted by these designers of what you would call sound. These impulses are in reality the superb reflections of the naked and glorious spirit souls of the celestial host.
So the spirits themselves make sounds, right? That's kind of interesting.
They're naked.
They're naked, yeah. The naked souls of the spirits.
Oh, they all went to those.
Rodney?
They allow spirits to be naked.
Well, we all be naked and clothed in a spirit, some kind of spiritual covering. I don't know.
It's like the drawings in, they have the bronze,
Yeah.
the prophet.
Yeah.
All the
Well,
spirits.
naked means you don't have any clothes on. Naked means you don't have any clothes on. You're up to something.
So would it be kind of like Mormon underwear, Roger?
Mormon, there you go. That's
Can
right.
I put in for that?
Now, back when I was Mormon and I was baptized Mormon, you know, they put you in this white sheet-like covering. And I kind of imagine that's probably about about the way the clothes will be when we get to the mansion worlds, right? Y'all didn't know I was a Mormon at one time, did you?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah.
Will we have clothes?
They're sacred
Yes.
garments.
We'll have garments. Yeah, we'll have spiritual garments. We'll have everything in this planet and 1,000 times more than what we have on this planet. So I'm sure we'll have coverings and ornamentations, you know, probably, you know, if you'll call them necklaces and earrings and rings,
Hey, Roger.
whatever. Yeah.
Did you wear your Mormon underwear?
No, not today.
A leaf, and a fig leaf.
Not fig leaf.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rodney. Let's take the next one.
Okay, number 3, the emotion designers. These enhancers and conservators of feeling are those who preserve the sentiments of Moracha and emotions of divinity for the study and edification of the children of time and for the inspiration and beautification of Moracha progressors and advancing experience.
Okay, so these are ones that preserve the emotions. You know, they don't leave anything out, do they?
So,
Emotions of divinity, to my knowledge, in the first part of the book and all the way through to now, God's only emotion is love.
That's right. That's right.
so that was going to be my question. In the Moracha life, we will have emotion.
Of course we'll have emotions, and just like we do in this life, not only the emotion of love, but we'll have, you know, if you have humor, you have to have,
I agree.
you know, you have to have remembrances of feelings that you had when you were on this planet, right? So,
We may have a need to serve others.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. All right, let's keep going. Artists of odor. Odor.
Oh,
Who does that mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, Val, you're up next.
Artists of order. Order.
odor.
This comparison of supernal spirit activities to the physical recognition of chemical orders is indeed unfortunate, but the Rancha Morals hardly recognize this ministry by any other name. These artisans create their very symphonies for the edification and delight of advancing children of light. You have nothing on earth to which this type of spiritual grandeur can be even remotely compared. Yeah, we have a massages, don't we?
I don't think that's exactly the same thing.
How they call it, the smell.
Yeah, incense and things like that.
Massage.
Yeah,
And
So is it kind
essential
of like
oils.
aromatherapy, Roger?
Yeah.
like aromatherapy and essence. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
Would that be the, well, so that's the flower essences.
the flower essences and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
And so,
Incense also would be under that category.
Maybe when the time they wrote the paper, we didn't have it here.
That may be the case. That was not, I mean, these things weren't even going on. And there was no such thing as aromatherapy back in the 30s.
Yeah, it was in America. It maybe was up in Orient.
Yeah, maybe in
But they were writing that
Yeah.
for America.
Yeah. All right, you're going to take the next one.
5. The presence embellishers. These artisans are not occupied with the arts of self-adornment or the technique of creature beautification. They are devoted to the production of multitudinous and joyous reactions in individuals, Morancha and spirit creatures by dramatizing the significance of relationship through the positional values assigned to different Morancha and spirit orders in the composite assemblies of these diversified beings. I need to read this all over again. These artists arrange supermaterial beings as you would living musical notes, odors, sights, and then blend them into the anthems of glory.
Okay, so imagine this: the presence embellishers arrange Morancha and spiritual beings in different groups and different orders to create a basically a symphony or anthem of glory just by their position.
You know, it sounds like the beautiful dances they do in China,
Yeah.
where they have, I mean, and Korea and
Yeah.
and Japan, and they have these magnificent.
Yeah, just by arrangement. Just
Yeah,
by-
it's
by
just
yeah.
magnificent beyond belief.
The taste designers, and how can you be told of these artists? Faintly, I might suggest that they are improvers of Morancha taste. They also endeavor to increase the appreciation of beauty through the sharpening of the evolving spirit senses. Now, I have a question for y'all. Do you think he's talking about taste as in class, or taste as in actually tasting something here?
I think class, myself.
That's what I think too, Rodney. When I read this,
Just from reading it.
like having taste, whether you have appreciation for certain things, having taste, like whether you think this is a beautiful picture or not, you know, whether it's tasteful or not taste like on your tongue.
Okay, is it presented in a tasteful manner?
Is it presented in a tasteful manner? That's what I kind of would think this would mean, but it could be just the opposite. It could be the taste of, yeah.
Oh, it may be taste in beauty.
It says appreciation of beauty, yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
beauty, yeah.
Appreciation of
So it makes you think it would be like the taste of appreciation,
And
right?
presence and
And presence,
presentation.
things like that. But I thought that was an interesting thing.
it's like a taste in style.
Yeah, well, every time I read it, I go back and forth on that, you know?
And it could be either one.
Yeah.
Well, it comes right after odors.
I know, that's what I'm saying, Millie. You know, we
So
know we
it will
have,
lead you in that direction.
yeah,
But a deeper thought would lead you to decide whether it was your taste in artwork or housing or
Yeah.
colors or whatever.
interesting
Start with
question.
naked first.
And just a small note, Roger, on number 4, the extract of plants, gums, and resin has dated over 5,000 years. Of sandalwood, like your
Yeah.
frankincense and myrrh, these are gums from a tree.
Oh yeah, they've been around for, well actually it's been around since the time of the Caligastan 100s, 500,000 years ago, you know. But our use of it in that form in this country has just been recent, if you think about it. For the first 150 years, 200 years we were in this country, do you know of anything where odors was used or smells was used in any kind of therapy or anything like that?
In the Orient.
Just the Orient. Yeah, it's I don't know. You know, interesting question.
Go back to taste for a minute and say it means both.
Right. It might, Millie. You know, it might very well, but because he has a difficulty in relating it to us, doesn't he, in that paragraph?
Yes, yes.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Tim, would you take the next one, the Morancha synthesizers?
Number 7, the Morancha synthesizers. These are the master craftsmen who, when all others have made their respective contributions, then add the accumulating and finished touches to the Morancha assemble, thus achieving an inspiring portrayal of the divinely beautiful and enduring inspiration to spirit beings and their Morancha associates. But you must await your deliverance from the animal body before you can begin to conceive of the artistic glories and aesthetic beauties of the Morancha and spirit worlds.
I know, it sounds like we kind of got another jab there, didn't we? So the synthesizers bring it all together, basically, right? All right. Millie, would you take the next one, the harmony workers?
Yes, number 7, harmony workers. These artists are not concerned with music, painting, or anything similar, as you might be led to surmise. They are occupied with the manipulation and organization of specialized forces and energies which are present in the spirit world, but which are not recognized by mortals. If I had the least possible basis for comparison, I would attempt to portray this unique field of spirit achievement, but I despair. There is no hope of conveying to mortal minds this sphere of celestial artistry. Nevertheless, that which cannot be described may still be implied.
So we don't even have a concept for this, right? Take that first paragraph too, Millie.
They're insult list.
Yeah.
Who is this? He's an archangel of Nebadon.
Right.
He despairs.
Yes. Millie, take that next paragraph too.
Beauty, rhythm, and harmony are intellectually associated and spiritually akin. Truth, fact, and relationship are intellectually inseparable and associated with philosophic concepts of beauty. Goodness, righteousness, and justice are philosophically interrelated and spiritually bound up together with living truth and divine beauty.
Okay, so...
Adjective, divine beauty.
Divine beauty, right? Okay, and he's talking about these harmony workers bring all this stuff together, right? The truth, beauty, and goodness, right? Of the universe, really. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Cosmic concepts of true philosophy, the portrayal of celestial artistry, were a mortal attempt to depict the human recognition of divine beauty, can never be truly satisfying if such attempted creature progression is ununified. These expressions of the divine urge within the evolving creature may be intellectually true, emotionally beautiful, and spiritually good, but the real soul of expression is absent unless these realities of truth, meanings of beauty, and values of goodness are unified in the life experience of the artisan, the scientist, or the philosopher.
Okay, so this harmony they're talking about is necessary for all these things to come together, right? Your understanding of truth, beauty, and goodness, that sort of thing. All right, Val, would you take the next one?
That's what you call the holy, actually. It's a holy. Just like that Trinity, really.
That's right.
It's got to be there, otherwise it doesn't exist. These divine qualities are perfectly and absolutely unified in God. And every God-knowing man or angel possesses the potential of unlimited self-expression on ever-progressive levels of unified self-realization by the technique of the never-ending achievement of godliness and that godlikeness. Godlikeness.
Yeah.
Experiential blending in the evolutionary experience of truth, universal beauty, and divine goodness.
And why is this possible? Our thought adjuster, That's why all of this is possible.
Hey Roger, I had a question.
Yeah.
Can you define the word self-realization for me?
Yeah. For me, anyway, Tim, because it's a personal thing. Self-realization is fusion with your thought adjuster. That's what true self-realization is. Because without the thought adjuster, our self ceases to exist. So
it's fusion with your thought adjuster.
It really is, if you think about it. Without the thought adjuster, we die. So to become self-realized, we have to fuse with our adjuster. So the moment we fuse with our adjuster, we become a real what? A real cosmic citizen or a real person. So that's self-realization.
So before that is self-actualization, actually.
Yeah, self-actualization.
So that'll be actualization, which can happen here when we get old enough and realize how stupid we used to be. and then when we die and go, then we fuse with the adjuster and we be self-love.
That's right. Did you take the next one?
8. Mortal aspirations and Morancha achievements. Although celestial artisans do not personally work on material planets, such as Urantia, they do come from time to time from the headquarters of the system to proffer help to the naturally gifted individuals of the mortal races. When thus assigned, these artisans temporarily work under the supervision of planetary angels of progress. The seraphic hosts cooperate with these artisans in attempting to assist those mortal artists who possess inherent endowments, and who also possess adjusters of special and previous experience.
So these beings that get this help are usually adjusters that are experienced from before in some type of artistic talent, right? There are 3 possible sources of special human ability. At the bottom always there exists the natural or inherent aptitude. Special ability is never an arbitrary gift of the gods. There is always an ancestral foundation for every outstanding talent. In addition to this natural ability, or rather supplemental thereto, there may be contributed the leadings of the thought adjuster in those individuals whose individual adjusters may have had actual and bona fide experience along such lines on other worlds and in other mortal creatures. In those cases where both the human mind and the indwelling adjuster are usually skillful, the spirit artisans may be delegated to act as harmonizers of these talents and otherwise to assist and inspire these mortals to seek for ever-perfecting ideals and to attempt their enhanced portrayal for the edification of the realm. In other words, it helps them out so that all beings can enjoy this art or talent, right? Tim, would you take the next one?
Hey Roger, when they say the word gods, what are they referring to?
They're talking about the hierarchy of godship. Okay, they're talking about the Creator Son, the Ancients of Days, the 7 attributes of God, all the way up to God the Father. That's what they're talking about.
Okay, and the Spirit and the Eternal Son.
Spirit, the Eternal Son, God the Supreme, the Ancients of Days, and the 7 Master Spirits. Yeah. Did I miss anybody?
The Creator Mother Spirit.
And the Creative Mother Spirit and the Creator Son.
And God the Sevenfold. Okay, thank you, Roger.
Yeah, it's God's the Sevenfold. Right.
There is no caste in the ranks of spirit artisans. No matter how lonely your origin, if you have ability and the gift of expression, you will gain adequate recognition and receive due appreciation as you ascend upward in the scale of Morancha experience and spiritual attainment. There can be no handicap of human heredity, or deprivation of morale environment, which the mortal environment, which the Morancha career will not fully compensate and wholly remove. And all such satisfactions of artistic achievement and expressionful self-realization will be affected by your own personal efforts in progressive advancement. At the last aspirations of evolutionary mediocrity, how do you pronounce it?
Mediocrity.
Mediocrity may be realized. While the gods do not arbitrarily bestow talents and ability upon the children of time, they do provide for the attainment of the satisfaction of all their noble longings, and for the gratification of all human hunger for supernal self-expression.
So anything you wanted to do on this planet that you didn't get around to doing, you will have the opportunity to do when you get to the mansion worlds, right? All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. But every human being should remember many ambitions to excel, which tantalize mortals in the flesh, will not persist with these same mortals in the Morancha and spiritual careers. The ascending Moranchans learn to socialize their former purely selfish longings and
egoistic
ambitions. Nevertheless, those things which you earnestly longed to do on earth, and which circumstance so persistently denied you, if after acquiring your true Mota insight in the Morancha career you still desire to do, then will you most certainly be granted every opportunity to fully satisfy your long-cherished desires.
So we know there's going to be many things that we want to accomplish on this planet and in this world. When we get to the Morancha spheres, will mean nothing to us. So those sort of things we won't want to do, right? Okay.
Hey, Roger, I had 2 questions.
Sure.
Can you tell me what the word egotistic means?
Yeah, those things that are self-centered, basically, Tim. Those things which you want to do to build your own ego up, to make you feel better, right?
Or you think you're better than everybody? Is that what that
is? Well, it's a self-serving and
aggrandizement or something.
And aggrandizement, yeah.
Chauvinistic, egoistic.
Yeah, so if you want to be Elvis when you get to the mansion worlds, that's not likely going to be a thing you want to do when you get there.
But he's singing beautiful songs.
Yeah, he's singing beautiful songs. What I'm saying is, if you have this aspiration to be this big star, to make yourself feel good, you won't want to do that anymore, right?
And the other question, the word Monota, does that stand for Morancha wisdom?
Mota, right? Yeah, that's Morancha wisdom. That's correct. Yeah, Morancha Mota.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Sure.
So our desires will pass on into the Morancha life.
That's right. And some desires we will take with us, Rodney, if they're worthwhile. The ones that aren't worthwhile will never survive. Okay.
So when we finally make it there, we're definitely going to realize that we came from a place called Earth.
Yeah, we will. But the difference is that
amendments here, and over there they got Morancha Mota.
Yeah, and there's a thing, we'll have wisdom there. That's what part of the Mota is. Right. Learning your Mota is learning wisdom. Okay.
We're going to have no 10 amendments anymore. You're going to have
that's right.
Now, hey Roger, there's Rodney brought a good up point. There's also people that don't remember their life, and they're called sunfinders that have to be told who they were.
Right. That's correct. They have to be rehearsed on what happened to them in their lives. And through that rehearsal, there's a familiarity to it. Okay, so it's like when these things are rehearsed to them, it all becomes clear again to them.
But what did they forget, though?
What? Because that part of their memory is not transported over, because the thought adjuster is not there to bring it back for them.
You don't think that'll happen to us, do you?
Yeah,
no,
well, I'll tell you something about it.
No.
If you try, when you die, if you try not to lose consciousness, then you're going to be continuing without any interruption. Because I've been through it. I've been through it. I experienced it.
I didn't catch that last word, Roger. Could you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, I don't remember what I said, Tim, but basically...
We were talking, I asked you if we would forget our memory.
No, we will not forget our memory. No, not on this planet, because we all have thought adjusters, right?
And thank you, Roger.
And the thought adjuster will bring your personality back into your new body. See, the difference between the sun-fused mortals is that personality memory has to be re-taught to those beings when they're sun-fused, because the thought adjuster is not there, right? Okay. Let's keep
Yeah, but
going.
Roger, what I was saying, if when you dying, you try not to lose the consciousness, you go from one reality right to another reality, you're not going to lose nothing.
Well, really, you don't. Well, you have to lose consciousness, Val, unless you fuse with your adjuster. There's no other way to pass. Really.
Yeah, this reminded me of the Hare Krishnas, where they have to say their Maha Mantra, because if they don't, then they can't ascend.
Yeah.
No, I was dead. I had a heart attack. And I was dead. I never lost consciousness. I went from one realm to another realm.
All right.
You know, I've been there.
Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one?
That's interesting, Mel.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to you about that later.
Okay.
Okay, before...
I've been through that, and I always, the Uranch actually says that. I can tell you what numbers, where it says it, but don't lose consciousness when you die. It will help you make an easy transaction. It's in your contract.
I have not read that. So, Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. Before ascending mortals leave the local universe to embark upon their spirit careers, they will be satiated, respecting every intellectual, artistic, and social longing or true ambition which ever characterized their mortal or Maracha planes of existence. This is the achievement of equality, of the satisfaction of self-expression and self-realization, but not the attainment of identical experiential status, nor the complete obliteration of characteristic individuality in skill, technique, and expression. But the new spirit differential of personal experiential attainment will not become thus leveled off and equalized until after you have finished the last circle of the Havana career. And then will the paradise residents be confronted with the necessity of adjusting to that absent differential of personal experience, which can be leveled off only by the group attainment of the ultimate of creature status, the seventh stage spirit destiny of the mortal finalities.
And that's when all beings will go into the seventh stage at the same time, Rodney, when the Supreme comes into full fruition.
So could you perhaps further explain that first sentence?
Yeah, it's basically saying as ascendant mortals, okay, they have to be completely satiated. In other words, they have to be completely comfortable with every single longing they ever had from the beginning of time all the way through the paradise career before they are ready to go into the seventh stage spirit destiny, basically.
Okay.
And the only way to do that is through experience over long periods of time, where you have done everything, seen everything you possibly ever wanted to see or do or feel.
You just worn it out.
You've worn it out. That's right, done everything. And at that point, you're 6th stage spirits, right? When you actually stand before God the Father. But before we can all step into the 7th stage spirit destiny as finaliters, everyone has to do that at the same time. And when everyone does that at the same time, that's when the God the Supreme comes into full existence. Okay? Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, and Val, would you take our last paragraph there? No,
And
yeah.
this is the story of the celestial Artisans, that cosmopolitan body of exquisite workers who do so much glorify the architectural spheres with the artistic portrayals of the divine beauty of the
Okay, and that was indicted by an archangel of Nebadon. Okay. All right, let's say a little prayer and we're closed for the night. Millie, would you like to pray first tonight?
I'll say one, Roger.
Go ahead, Tim. Say one.
For all of you that are aging, dear Mother and Father God, as I grow older, let me be more patient and tolerant. Allow me, by your heavenly grace, to view my life through positive eyes. Let me see my life as a spiritual journey for my perfection and experiencing for you. Let me view life as a song that has a beautiful melody and not to be tainted by grief, guilt, and the false hopes of what I should have been. Let me grow in wisdom, endurance, and courage so I can stand before you and feel proud that I have been a light to many in a lonely desert. Not my will, but your will be done, Father.
Amen.
Amen.
That is great. And at home, thank you for joining us. Please come see us again.